in America nowadays, you see some racial problem,
Yes.
and what you call black people. So
Yes.
you see these, I think much should depend on our mental attitude. We must promote oneness, concept of oneness of humanity. That's my number one commitment. 7 billion human beings, the way born, same. The way dying, same. While we alive, besides these physical differences, emotion level, mental level, same. So, and then the reality. You see, we too much sort of emphasis, we, our community, and their community. That's the source of problem. And that thinking is outdated. In ancient time, one sort of king or queen, or some cases religious leader, then they used to emphasize my people, or like that. So that's that thinking now gone. Now we have to think entire human being. Firstly, entire sentient being. At a practical level, entire human being on this planet. 7 billion human beings. Our future depends on 7 billion human beings. Each individual human being's future depends on the humanity. So now, thinking my group, their group, on the basis of religion, basis of color, basis of social sort of status, all these are old thinking. Now today, for example, the global economy, no national boundary. And modern technology on these, you see, belongs to humanity. Not my nation, their nation, no. So too much emphasis, small, because due to some differences, and emphasis we. That's the source of problem. Now we have to think one humanity, 7 billion human beings. That's my number one commitment. Try to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Then these differences are minor. And even if the same person at a young age, different thinking, old age, something different. But this is still same being. So similarly, the Easterner, Westerner, Northerner, Southerner, and America itself, you see, I think different part of America, this is where community like black people, majority black people, you see, we can divide, you see, but these are minor. We are same human being. The different color and make distinction. Even you see different religion make distinction. Hindus, Buddhists, Muslim is the Judaism, so on. You see, these are, you see, the minor. The main thing is we all same human being. So now we really need, you see, to educate and share with other people. We are same human being. We have to live on this planet. And then is a human being, mentally, emotionally, you see, physically, basically we are same. You see, make a distinction on the basis of color. And it's silly, narrow-minded. And similarly, distinction based on religious faith also is silly. We are all the same human being. So now, presently, you see some problem in America, and then you should look India. India, over billion population. So all world, different religious tradition live together here. Millions of Muslims, then Jew, I think less number. Then Zoroastrian, less number. So, you see, India, I think all major worldly traditions live together. Then South India, West India, North India, East India, Central India, different people, different language, different script, but all live together. In the concept of union of India. We all usually live together. Small differences. Each community have the right to preserve their own identity, including religion, including language. Okay. But, you see, not create division. So India, I think, now I live this country, the major portion of my life now spent here. So I really admire India. So the rest of the world, I think, should look like India. It's a different color, different religion, it's a different tradition. All this belongs to humanity. So that's now, I think, especially in America, I think if you too much sort of stress different color, I think it becomes something important. Then, the other hand, you should emphasize entire 7 billion human beings, we are same. And the America, I think you should look European Union. Different language, although different sort of, I mean, all those are same sort of what's the biologically I think same, but you see different nation, so different language, different culture, and previous time, you see, killing each other, like French and Germany. Here you say, I want to tell, Kasa, German and celebrity. I didn't know where to go. Once he told me, when he was young, and every German eye, French is their enemy. Similarly, French eye, German is their enemy. Now that kind of sort of feeling completely changed once he told me. And then you can see General de Gaulle and Adenauer.
Yes.
During wartime, they are arch enemy. But after Second World War, they use human intelligence properly. Now, time come, we should create one European Union. I think that's really wise. Since the European Union developed, then at least last few decades, no killing among the member states. If European Union not yet developed, then I think last few decades, I think some killing might happen. So therefore, we can learn the spirit of European Union. You see, that come, you see, tremendous difficulties of killing, suffering. Then they become more mature, and then thinking wider way, and then European Union start. Like America, very name United States. So, you see, they different color, different religion, different races. You see, these are the very basis of united. If just one, then no meaning of United States. Because there are, you see, different people, different culture, or different race, or different color, then create the very name United States. So therefore, I think today, quite unfortunate sort of thing. In America, the color, on the basis of color. Nowadays, of course, I feel, when I heard these things, I feel very, very sad. And many friends in America, my friend in America, so that big nation, and America is leading nation of free world. So very important. America now should be the example of rest of the world, where Africa and Latin America and the Middle East some problem. Then you should tell, different color, different religion, but we can live together. Like, so that's the very basis of United States. So, this now here I think due to certain sort of factor, certain event, you see the crisis, the difficulties, color. Now these are, I think, our own, creation, due to narrow-minded and too much emotion.
Yes.
So now here, we human being, every human being, emotion is part of our life. But most of the emotion, which no proper basis, just the emotion, these usually create more problem. Then the emotion such as compassion, these things, you see, based on reason. So now I have some sort of contact among the scientists, quantum physics. Now quantum physics, some experts, they say things appears, material thing appears existence of objectively. But if you go deeper level, then nothing exists as appears. And go deeper way, then you see nothing, also the identity. Appears something independent. Go deeper, everything particle. Then also you see, there some scientists say, they finally the mental conception, mental projection. You mentally identify something. Otherwise, objectively nothing exists that way. So one Indian great was a scholar, Kasa, Rajaramana. Rajaramana once told me, quantum physics in the West something new. In this country, in India, over 2,000 years already developed. And then he recites some verses of Nagarjuna. Everything interdependent. There is nothing objectively exist. So I feel the quantum physics, you see, if we use thinking that way according to quantum physics, then all the negative emotion such as anger, fear, on the basis of appearances, go deeper. The people or object which you feel fear, go deeper. Not as appears something solid, something independent. No. So all these negative emotion, which based on appearances, is no foundation. Other hand, karuna, compassion. You see, a kind of emotion, but based very much based on reality. So those positive emotion, we can increase through reasoning, through meditation. Those harmful emotion, no proper basis, just on appearances, like that. So that's quite encouraging or hopeful. All the negative emotion, not proper basis.
Yes.
Positive emotion, the proper basis. So we can develop through training, through reasoning, positive emotion. The negative emotion, thinking more deeper way, no basis. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Richie, there are many parts of this you might want to reflect the science on, and maybe it is also starting with the compassion training research and maybe moving back to some of the work and implicit bias around.
Well, Your Holiness, it's wonderful to be with you again. Just a few reflections. Actually, to start with the current pandemic, there was a paper published by Chinese scientists just a few weeks ago showing that 54% of the Chinese population has reported either moderate or very severe symptoms of distress from the coronavirus pandemic. More than half the population. So what many scientists are now describing is a pandemic of a mental health crisis that is associated with this terrible virus that we have today. And one of the problems that people face is uncertainty about when this will end, uncertainty about how they may actually be infected, if they might be infected. And one of the comments that you made, Your Holiness, you were, I'm not sure who it was that you're quoting, but there are certain things that we can control and other things that we can't control. And if we can't control them, we should not worry about them. But what we can control is our own mind. And what we see is that the messages of uncertainty and the messages of fear are having a very destructive effect on people. And it actually has a biological effect too. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but you brought up the racial tensions in the United States. It turns out that in the group of people between 35 and 45 years of age, Black people in America are 10 times more likely to die from coronavirus than white people. 10 times. And this is data that was collected from the beginning of February to June 20th and just reported by the Center for Disease Control. So this is a serious issue that is not just psychological, but it gets, as we say, under the skin into our biology. And so I wonder, part of it is, I think, people's attention being grabbed or hijacked, we would say, by messages of fear. And I wonder if you can give us, Your Holiness, some wisdom. How can we control our mind to not be so influenced by these messages of fear and actually calm our mind in a way that would produce more equanimity and actually affect our biology?
Now this illness, because another thing. As I already mentioned, those scientists, and particularly the medical scientists, you see, they still carry some research work. So that should continue. And this illness also due to certain virus. So similarly, this body also have the potential of the antidote. So I think the doctor, scientist still continuously research work. And then individual, I feel it's a mental state. Also, I think some connection. The mental state, calm, and self sort of confidence, maybe some effect, and too much fear. Then these virus also, you see, in a way find the opportunity to create, multiply. Mental level, self-confidence, not much fear. And then I think the positive particle of this body more stronger. That I feel, and including some meditation. Usually, you see, we only used to talk the materialistic sort of culture or materialistic life. We only was talking about 5 senses of organs. I think till because of the late 20th century, you see, people not much pay attention about mind. I think those scientists, especially like you, the brain specialist, you simply, you see, telling people, brain. Not much talk about.
We also tell them mind.
Now, I think, especially you, the later part of 20th century, now realize beside this brain, there is something which can affect our brain, including meditation, some effect, some change of brain. So that we call sixth mind. So meditation is the part of sixth mind. So, and then meditation, including the control of breathing. I usually practice that morning. You see, take and then keep here as much as you can. Then blow. So, such sort of practice gradually, you see, the ability of sixth mind increasing. So usually we just the five sense of organs, seeing, hearing, like that. They not so thinking, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, just mind itself. Then on it, meditate. Few seconds, few minutes. That's how my friend, even you see 3-4 hours. So then it increase the strength of sixth mind, ability of the sixth mind. Then you see we call meditation, shamatha meditation, and analytical. Once you see you gain some sort of what's the forces analyzed, channelized, or analyzed the power of sixth mind, then analytical meditation, or we call vipassana, or further investigate everything, external things or particles, all sort of the meditation, you see, the Indian tradition, shamatha, vipassana, very useful. You see, that really increase the power of mind, and also, you see, increase sharpness of mind, like that. So this, I think, according to Indian tradition, secular way, not related with religious belief, whether accept religion or not, these are simply academic subject, training our mind and utilize the power of mind properly, sixth mind. So you make, I think, great contribution regarding besides brain, there is something which can affect brain. So I really believe, like you, and now more and more now scientists now paying more attention about our emotion, about our inner world. In the past, just material, external thing. Now begin to research more our inner world, because all these anger, fear, all these are part of our sixth mind. So material thing cannot affect on that. So meditation, analyze the mind, and then you can develop conviction. All these negative emotion, no use, so we can reduce. Result, your mind become much more peace, much more stable. So the other day,
Your Holiness,
Yes. Yes.
No, sorry, please go on.
The other day about this virus, they mentioned the kasa, jizukanbo.
Bats.
Ah,
Bats.
ah,
Bats. Bats.
kasa,
Bats.
bats,
No.
bats are,
No.
bats, you see, carry, you see, this illness. Of course, is there some connection, maybe connection. I think all blame on bat, I think is wrong. The bats, you see, no way to defend themselves. We human beings, you see, just a blame. They carry this problem, this carry problem. So the more research about mind, about emotion, and then change our emotion through reason, through analytical meditation. Not talking about God, not talking about Buddha, just simply is how to bring a peaceful mind. So instead of blame kasa, bats, we should what's the kasa, blame our own negative emotion much better. Then the question is how to reduce negative emotion. Negative emotion, the proper way to reduce negative emotion, not prayer, but analyze the system. Recently, you see some Chinese student who study quantum physics. Now they express, you see, as a result of study of quantum physics, you see, some kind of grasping external object, something good, something bad, you see, very negative. So that is reduced. That's exactly the Buddhist psychology, ancient Indian psychology, also is mentioned that. So now you, as my long-time friend, we have more work to the education field about our emotion and how to reduce negative emotion and how to increase the positive emotion, these things, not touching any religion.
Yes. Your Holiness, I wanted to just mention that when we first began our dialogues with Through Mind and Life, the word compassion was not in any textbook of psychology in America, in the West. If you looked in the index, the word compassion was not there. And it is really through your inspiration that you have catalyzed a whole generation of scientists through Mind and Life that has begun to study how compassion and other forms of meditation actually affect our emotions in this way. And now there is thousands of scientific papers. And literally 20 years ago, there was zero on compassion. And so I remember the day in Dharamsala when we made a commitment to you that we were going to do everything we could to put compassion on the scientific map. And there's still much to learn, but it is really a testament to the inspiration that you've provided, that there is actually a field now of contemplative science and contemplative neuroscience. And one of the findings that we see that is relevant to an issue that we were talking about earlier is that even relatively short amounts of compassion practice can reduce implicit bias. And implicit bias is prejudice that is subtle. It is non-conscious. It's present in our demeanor, in our behavior toward members, for example, of racial outgroups, but we may not actually be aware of it ourselves. And that kind of prejudice or bias can be reduced through these practices. So it is something which has developed, and we're really making, I think, very good progress. But we still, I think, are faced with how we can disseminate this more widely and make these strategies available to everybody. So if you have any advice about how all of us, 7 billion people, can practice, one of the analogies that I sometimes use is that when human beings first evolved on the planet, none of us were brushing our teeth. And today, everyone brushes their teeth. Almost every human being on the planet. And it's not part of our genes, it's something we learn. So can we all learn to cultivate compassion?
Right. I always emphasize the existing education, you see, so-called modern education, come from West. So no concept, no idea about mind. So now education should include education, beside education of matters, and also you see should combine education of mind, education about emotion. So like you say hygiene of physical, similarly hygiene of emotion as an academic subject, not a religious subject or next life or heaven. No, simply how to build a society day by day, happier, friendly, peaceful. So hygiene of emotion, you see, should include in our education field. So that's lacking. The modern education very much oriented about material value. When we talk about mind, then sometimes we felt that's a religious subject. No, actually not. So therefore, hygiene of physical, similarly hygiene of emotion, in order to explain that, then you see different kind of destructive emotion. Here, ancient Indian tradition, very detailed explanation how much destructive emotion, what kind of emotion, because I cannot sort of use the English now here, Tibetan, Josim and Simjung, Simjung of the Shayin Duzane, that and is learned to the Mongols.
So, for example,
Simjung
like,
and Simjung of the
for example, in the Indian psychology, we see the distinction made between primary awareness itself and the various modalities that are functionally defined. These are referred to as mental factors. For example, one of the texts, Abhidharma, lists 51 such mental factors. Each of them are distinctly defined from the point of view of their functions.
So it is quite useful. You see, some ancient Indian text, you see, mention these things. And now we should take these academic subject, not religious subject. And of course, not for Buddhist subject, Buddhism. No, nothing. You see, the original source is some Hindu tradition, some Buddhist tradition, some Jain tradition, but that's something different. But we are trying to take these education subject. So I think modern education, education about our inner world, very much lacking. Now that we must sort of start a new text for education from kindergarten level, and then gradually up to university level. You see, we have the subject to study small particle and then how to grow these big trees like that. So similarly, the mind also, you see, like that, small sort of say, one small sort of mind sometimes create much sort of sophisticated mind. That's sometimes very harmful, sometimes very helpful. So these is like external thing. There is some we study detail. Now this more poison, so more dangerous. So we try to avoid. And this something useful. So we particularly, you see, we specialists pay attention for guru. Similarly, our inner world, our mind, there are a certain sort of emotion useful and how to. So these positive emotion, worthwhile, we should pay more attention to increase. There is certain emotion very harmful, so we should reduce that. That's not like physical, but its own causes or emotional level. So we should, in our education field, we should include, you see, these things. The other day, now my one commitment is try to revival of ancient Indian thought, Indian tradition, mainly ahimsa, non-violence. Non-violence very much related with mind, that's karuna. In this country, 2000 years ago, already developed ahimsa, karuna. So Buddha Dharma itself part of that. So the modern Indian education very much also based on Western materialistic education. Now India should combine the ancient Indian knowledge about mind, about emotion, and modern education. India have the ability and opportunity to combine these two things. I often is now telling my Indian friends. So the essence is existing education is not adequate to bring a happy person. So now we should, now here the scientist, I think you have some authority to mention, to raise these questions. If I say, oh, Dalai Lama monk, so naturally, see this, you see this view. The scientists say, oh, then people pay more attention, oh. So in reality, in reality, existing modern education is not adequate for, as I mentioned earlier, you see physical health with that material thing, and then mental health, nothing mentioned. They always, you see, depend on religious faith. Then religion, I respect all religion, but much religion just based on faith. The Buddhist religion or Hindu Sankhya philosophy or these and Jain, Indian tradition, you see, quite a lot, because you see, they in their religion, the practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana there. So some also the explanation about the mind there. But then I think maybe I'm Buddhist, so little prejudice maybe. But look, even Buddhism, the Pali tradition, what Buddha says recorded and not much analyzed. So Buddha himself, you see, express, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation." So Nalanda tradition, then you see, used to see, his advice, and then we extensively use logical approach. Even Buddha's own word come, we just raise question, why Buddha said that? And if you see Buddha's own word, through analyze, through logical approach, if we find contradiction, then we have right to reject Buddha's own word. So many that Pali tradition, not much, and the Sanskrit tradition. And actually Nalanda, I think education sort of center, not just to say monastery. So number of Nalanda master, you see, they they study extensively logic, pramana, like Dignac, Dharmakirti, and then they also see Nagarjuna, Bhuttapalita, then particularly the Kasachuti, Umajuga, Chandakirti, Chandakirti. You see, these Nalanda master, you see, when they explain about Buddha Dharma, always use reason. So if through reasoning, Buddha's own word, some contradiction, then they reject. So that is something, Kasuta, something unique, I think good. So I think we Tibetan, in the 8th century, although Buddhism introduced Tibet 7th century, then 8th century, Tibetan king, you see, he he invite the Nalanda master, that's Chandarakshita, great logician, great philosopher. So some of his writing, we use textbook. So since he introduced Buddha Dharma according to Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition, so we Tibet over 1,000 years, we study rigorously about logic. So now today, among the Buddhist brothers sisters, I think Tibetan Buddhists who study these things, and then you see they are thinking always logical. Therefore, we develop also the special relation with scientists. The science also, you see, investigation, reasoning, not belief. So Nalanda tradition also is not belief, not faith, investigation. So now our conference, science as a minor science, how we develop. So I think at least we made some sort of contribution. And then within Buddhism, since many Burmese Buddhists, Thai Buddhists, is quite often used to come to see me. So since we become very close friends, so sometimes I teaching them, you only Pali tradition, just based on Buddha's word. So you have like no teeth. If something hard come, we, Nalen tradition, we utilize, we study logical. So, you see, we have our teeth, no matter the hard subject, we can do that. So therefore, the Chandra Rashida, wonderful scholar and practitioner. And his, also under his guidance, we Tibetan, you see, carry, study knowledge tradition. You see, firstly, myself also, you see, 6, 7 year old already started memorizing, learn by heart, those root texts. And the Kirsurve, Modokian Singori, Mujigo Singori, and Kashe, and the Kasure, Kalakache, Modokian Gans, Shikta from a Gans. These would be Umujugu Jus Tasabag or Jus.
These are two important texts that children, as young monks, have to memorize, and they're quite tough. So the first one is called the Ornament of Realization. So the Tibetan word "modogen," ornament, is some So because the student has been struggling so hard, so started getting lice in the body. So the student said, I've been memorizing this ornament text and my body has been ornamented. And then the second text is to enter or engage, entering the middle way. And here too, so the second text is actually a combination of long and short verses. It's even harder to memorize because it's uneven. So the student was saying that, and the term has, the title of the text is Umala Jupa, which is entering the middle way. And the Tibetan term Jupa, enter, has a double meaning. So it says that, entering this text, memorizing this text instead of entering the monastery, it looks like I may have to exit.
So Your Holiness, I want to bring us to a important question. You have given us such beautiful teachings in this time. What would you say to our leaders in nations around the country, around the world? What would you say to our young people who are protesting and desiring change and who are struggling against systems that they see as oppressive around the world?
Yes, world always changing, moving. Now with education, including knowledge about science, you see, I think today's world, I think 100 years ago, much change. In 20th century, become century of violence. Now, 21st century, I think many people, this is really now serious thinking. That whenever we find difficulties, you see, previously, then we just touch the gun. Now, in 21st century, when we find some disagreement, we think dialogue. So I usually see describing now this century should be century of dialogue. Whenever we find some disagreement, some differences. So after all, the the previous centuries, many people kill through warfare, but nobody win or eliminate all so-called their enemy. First World War, Second World War, still, you see, the different people who have sort of also actually created some problem, which still remain. So therefore, now the only thing is dialogue. So now here, my main sort of also the desire or my aim is eventually through education and try to promote the spirit of dialogue, and on the basis of oneness of 7 billion human beings, we have to live side by side. There's no use war, no use weapon. So this world now should be demilitarized world. Now all these weapons, now you see, waste of money. Like nuclear weapon, we spend a lot of money, but nobody dare to use. Useless now. So weapon, you see, no use. So we should develop demilitarized world. Then any problem through dialogue, and for that we need self-confidence, believe truth, honest, a wider perspective, not just thinking my nation, but entire world, humanity. I think through education we can change thinking my nation. You see, that's too narrow-minded, and these are the basis of conflict, warfare. Thinking oneness of 7 billion human beings, we are same. We have to live side by side. Now some scientists say we are social animal. Any social animal, you see, individual's life depends on the rest of the community. So basically we have the more the compassionate mind, because we are social animal. Each individual's future depends on the community. So now to the world, future of happy world, you see, depends on the entire humanity. So now the education is the key factor, and then meantime, you see, try to demilitarize the world. Then, although I don't know how long they due to global warming, now things become quite serious. So that also, you see, it is quite silly. The world itself, now, you see, how long remain? Big question. Then within now few decades, and killing. Silly, senseless. So I think two old persons, both, you see, very old and ready to die, then quarrel, then everybody see no sense, isn't it? Two old person, you see, they now near die, but meantime, you see, quarrel each other. So something like that, whole world now begin to ending. So now let us be happy, peace, compassionate society.
Yes. Yes.
So
But
those,
there's the joy of having the logical analysis and thinking to bring to the table of dialogue and engagement with others that you respect as human beings.
That's right. Thank you. So, my friend, we all have the same sort of responsibility. You see, to educate human brothers, sisters. You see, thinking, pay more attention about our inner value. That is the ultimate source of individual happiness, ultimate source of happiness of community, then finally happiness of entire 7 billion human being. Making money, making weapon, just you see, making more money, no guarantee to bring inner peace. Okay.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Now, next.
Carolyn, are you going to say anything else?
I'm going to say thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
This has been a wonderful teaching and a stimulating engagement. And I hope that all of us takes this into our own world, spaces, communities, families, and engage in a dialogue about the many ideas that you have talked about and the need for us to come to a sense of a common humanity to save, to have a healthy, peaceful world. So it is in deep gratitude that I find myself with having had this chance to be a part of a conversation with you. And Richie, I also thank you for your contributions from a scientific perspective and your long history with both His Holiness and Mind and Life. So thank you to Jimpala and other translators as well. And so, Susan, I turn this back over to you.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just have just a few closing words, Your Holiness. Thank you so much, Carolyn and Richie and Jimpala, and deep gratitude to you, Your Holiness. Thank you for being with us, taking the time to be with all of us, for sharing your wisdom and your warm-hearted humor. It's really, really delightful to see you again and to be with you. And we look forward to seeing you again sometime soon, hopefully in person. And until then, we want you to keep safe and to stay healthy. And I have one final message before we go, and this is to share with you and with all the audience. There is a new film called Infinite Potential. And this is a photo of you, Your Holiness, with your old friend David Bohm, who you call your science guru. He's a quantum physicist. Yes. And this movie, this film, is about his life and his work. And in about 15 hours from now is the free global premiere of the film with the panel discussion. And then on your birthday, in honor of your 85th birthday, there'll be another showing and a panel discussion. And so we're really excited to be partnering with the Fetzer Memorial Trust in offering this film about your dear friend David Bohm out to the world. So people can get more information on infinitepotential.com. And we encourage you to take a look at it. So that's all. Just thank you, Your Holiness, and please be well and know that we love you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Thank you. So individual life is limited. But while we alive, utilize our brain combined with our sense of responsibility, well-being of 7 billion human beings, or this idea, you see, on eventually in education field, then individual life limited, but this idea will remain some help to generation to come. Then, due to global warming, then world become desert. Then time come to go some other places. So, and also I think human being lot of negative emotion, then go some other planet. Also, you see, create more problem. Then better. Is it better to this life? We have very good opportunity, many good sources of ancient Indian masters. So now, some ideas, you see, live here, and then we new life with new brain, but same consciousness. So deeper level, some experience in deeper level is continue, life after life. Whether Richie Davidson accept or not, you see, brain, new life, each life, brain. The consciousness, there are many different levels of consciousness. Grosser level of consciousness entirely depend on this brain. More subtle level of consciousness is more or less sort of independent. So that consciousness, life after life, go. So when we utilize this life, it's a certain deeper level of thinking. The impact on subtle level of consciousness that will carry what you call the memory about past life. There are people, including myself, you see, when I was very young, I already recognized some search party member. So one story, I think my mother, she told me, the very day the search party member reached our village, nobody knows, but I already sort of very much excited. Then, about 3-year-old, my mother told me. Then some visitors, some strangers, something like, come. I run towards them. I recognize some of these sort of people. And Kesar Muche, you see, he wear one rosary given by 13th Dalai Lama. So I took that rosary. This is my rosary. So this is funny, silly, but seems, you see, so some indication, because of that, some indication, you see, there is sort of memory about past life. And then one Tibetan boy in Lhasa, you see, and he insists his place not in Tibet, but in India. Then gradually, as is a Tibetan from Tibet, come here as usually. So they also come. Then that boy insists, this is not my place. And he insists, South India. Then he insists, go to South India. Then with parent, then they reach South India, one Tibetan settlement. Then he insists, the one monastery, his belong, previous life. So then reach that monastery and his own room. Then he mentioned, now my glass here, open, yes, glass there. So such things, you see, the scientist, I think, difficult to explain.
Very difficult.
So such case, you see, there is something, the deeper memory about past life. That's the connection. So study and you because of that carry useful life, this life, and the impact and next life also is. So that my daily prayer, so long space remain, so long sentient being remain, I will remain in order to serve. That brings tremendous sort of inner strength. Not just a few years or a few decades, not a few lives, but infinite, till space remain. Sentient beings remain, I will remain in order to serve. So that prayer, Shantadevas was a word. I usually, you see, recite that each morning, and meantime, the wisdom site, Pumbu Lashem, Teleteme, Dajas Ranga Chik Gurche, the Shisho Pundemis, I will Chik Gurni, Dajas or Pundemin, Dajas or Conscience, Lona, Kansas to her. Nas looked at it, can that Zuzu can let it chat out.
So
Dajas or
together with
Ah,
so together with Shantideva's the lines that I pray on a daily basis, I combine it with teachings on the wisdom side, particularly reciting a short passage from Nagarjuna, where it is really an analysis of the self in terms of 5 factors of identity, whether the self is identical with body and mind, or whether it is distinct, whether body possesses the self or self possesses the body. So when you examine the possible relationships in which the body and the mind, and as well as the self, can be in relation to each other, when you analyze in this way, you don't find what we believe to exist, which is an objectively real self. So I combine that meditation on emptiness using Nagarjuna's lines.
as soon as I wake up, I remember these things and thinking. It's tremendous sort of helpful, my mind. So Nagarjuna, you see, mentioned Buddha. We pray Buddha, we believe Buddha. Where is Buddha? Beside his body is Buddha's body. His mind, Buddha's mind. Where is Buddha? So that I should
To change the words from Buddha to self. Yeah.
So thinking that,
And then
now, where is I? This is my physical and my mind. With brain, my mind and my speech. Where is I? I want to ask you. Davidson, where is I?
Well, the neuroscience, Your Holiness, shows that it is not located in any single area. This is one of the important findings in neuroscience that is, I think, so beautifully convergent with the teachings from Buddhism. There are analyses which show that if you look at different studies and where the self has been located, it turns out it's all over the brain. It's distributed. It's not in any single location. And so I think that it corresponds to the analysis that you're describing when we deeply reflect and ask ourselves that question.
Right. Now here, destructive emotion. The basis of this destructive emotion, one, consider I. That creates my was my friend, is my enemy. Fear, like that. That sort of antidote is altruism. Then the very idea of I, something there, antidote of that investigates where's I. No, nothing. You can't find. Just a mere designation. Buddha himself, mere designation. No independent existence of Buddha. So this is all negative emotion based on appearances, as I mentioned earlier, quantum physics, appearances. Then nothing exists as appears. Ultimately, everything is just a mere designation. So these two things, one upaya, because of the wisdom side, one method side, this bodhicitta and understanding about shunyata, very useful to tackle our destructive emotion. My daily prayer, about 4 hours, some other sort of recitation, some mantras, it is also there. But my main practice is bodhicitta, thinking, and shunyata, paticca. These two practices really makes different Dalai Lama. So what's the name? His Holiness Dalai Lama, nothing. Thinking, you see, these deeper line, daily basis, then change deeper level of our sort of concept. That's very helpful, very, very helpful. So sometimes, you see, in Tibetan Buddhist literature, they mentioned, you see, within 3 years, we can achieve Buddhahood. That's, I think, nonsense. It is better to think eons. And important is daily life should be useful, meaningful. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Now, usually our meeting with a small group and some audience useful, but this time, though physicals of the contact, but utilize modern technology, so reach, I think, several thousand. Some cases, I think, over 1 million people. So I hope this is our conversation, this is some help, and particularly is those students who study these subject. I think they may get some ideas,
Yes.
mainly in South India. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Bye.
Thank you. Now I'm hoping,
you. Bye.
as my friend Davidson, I'm hoping the touch knows. I always used to do that. You see, his nose very well equipped, and his wife his wife also. So take advantage that. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.